Simon Mayo.
Oh, yeah.
Drive time's on and we want go home.
From the very top, then.
It's good to be wise when you're young, 'cause you can only be young, but for once, enjoy yourself, have lots of fun, serve God and live, my friends, and it will never done.
Come on, you know how this goes.
Enjoy yourself.
One more time.
It's later than you think. Enjoy yourself.
We have some snacks for the journey.
While you're still in the
A degree of lubrication
years go by.
for the sore throat, and we're ready to go.
Quickly as the wind. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself. It's later than you think.
All right, well, here we go. It's my...
Simon Mayo, 88 to 91 FM, BBC Radio 2.
Hello and welcome. This is another Confessions podcast. Yes, another download from your great friends at Radio 2, where we have sinful listeners and jingles like this.
88 to 91
Just to prove, you know.
BBC Radio 2.
See? Anyway, this week's Concise Collection features an even more concise collection than normal because on Monday we had our big All Request 80s show and everything made way for the dancing Sarah Cox. Anyway, you've still got Smelly the Elephant, which is the... Oh, I won't tell you what that one's about. You just have to enjoy it again. Come On, Feel the Noise. That's got a tent theme. And Full Pigeon, a cha-cha-cha. Here they all come. Father Simon and the Collective Contrition. Okay, that's all right. My confession dates to April the 1st, 2000. Why are you looking suspicious?
I'm not looking. This is my intriguing face.
Oh, okay. Takes place in a well-known Paris-based theme park resort.
Oh. Which one?
Could be anywhere.
Could be any of them.
In the bit themed like a jungle, just outside a rather explorer-themed pizza restaurant, by the front steps to be exact. So now we've got it neatly pinned down. It's a bit like being on Google Images. We've absolutely honed in there perfectly. At the time, I was working for this well-known theme park, and a part of my job was to look after visiting VIPs and their families. See if you can work out who this visiting VIP is. It's not really part of the confession. It just happens to be a visiting VIP.
So do we know who it is?
No, we've made an intelligent guess.
Okay.
Okay. You don't want well-known faces jamming up the queues with autograph hunters, do you? So when a new roller coaster opened and lots of celebrities were invited, my job was to let them have a good time without ruining everyone else's day. On this particular day in 2000, for which I am penitent, I was looking after a perky Scottish TV host and her husband and 4-year-old daughter, who we'll call Daisy. As the evening drew in, a special event had been organised to mark the new adventurer-themed Mine Train roller coaster, and I escorted Daisy, Mum and Dad down through, past the red carpet and onto the party. A whole area of the park had been cordoned off, and tents lit by tilly lamps and burning torches were the order of the day. To top off the show, several tame big cats, snakes and an elephant had been brought in to add the atmosphere, and it's fair to say Daisy was in seventh heaven. Daisy's mum, the perky Scottish TV host, asked me if I could pick Daisy up for a better view of the elephant, because being only 4 and a little bit, she could only just see bits of the beast. So up Daisy went on the crook of my arm, and with me being 6'4", she now had a fantastic view. Seeing that the elephant... Oh, by the way, I should have said before I started, if you're having your tea a little bit late, there's a little bit of a stomach-churning moment in this. Should have said that at the beginning. Okay.
Just turn the page and see that bit.
So it's not PG or anything. It's just, if you're about to have peanut butter on your toast, you might want to think,
Oh, lovely.
I might wait.
Crunchy.
Always crunchy.
Yeah, me too.
Always crunchy, I think, particularly with this confession. Now, I had a great view. Seeing that the elephant was a friendly sort, I asked if Daisy would like to get a little closer. Yes, squealed Daisy. Off we went with Mum in close attendance and Dad snapping away with the camera. Looking around, I spied a waiter in a heavy, ill-fitting overcoat, walking by us with a fruit basket. Would you like to make friends with the elephant? I asked. This is to Daisy, obviously not to the waiter. How would I do that? Says Daisy. I grabbed an apple from the passing waiter, who, it's fair to say, was not best pleased. Quelquefois.
Quelquefois.
Le roast beef. Salad. C'est magnifique. Grumble, grumble. Anyway, with lots of mots that were très rude. Being a nice chap, I smiled, thanked the waiter, and explained to my new best friend in the world what we were going to do. If you hold out the apple to the elephant, I say, he'll pick it up with his trunk and pop it in his mouth. And as elephants never forget, he'll remember you as the kind little girl who gave him an apple. Daisy wasn't 100% sure about this whole trunk thing. Might it actually hurt? So plan 2 was born. Why don't I hold the apple, I say. You hold my wrist, then it will look like you're giving the elephant the apple, but I'll be taking all the chances. How does that sound? Daisy agreed this was possibly the best idea ever, just in case. And so it went. I held the shiny red apple. Daisy held my arm. I caught the eye of the Mayo, the elephant rider, who nodded his approval. I mention that especially for you, Bobby, because you'll be going, oh, I'm not quite sure. The elephant guy says, yes, you can do this.
Okay.
Nodded his approval, pointed us out to the elephant. We reached out to the elephant, who on cue extended his trunk and picked up the apple. Now, it's important to point out 2 things at this juncture in the story. 1, an elephant's trunk is, of course, a nose. A clever articulated nose, but a nose nonetheless. Point number 2, elephants can and do get colds.
Oh, boy.
So in a flash, the apple was gone, yet my hand was strangely full. And I don't think I have to spell out what it was full of.
Wow.
That appears to be a lot. Haven't you got a handkerchief? I realised I had to get the mess off my fingers quickly without betraying my cool exterior. And then I saw the answer coming towards me, all Gallic bad mood and heavy overcoat. Having put the now ecstatic Daisy in her dad's loving arms, I went to apologise to the grumpy French waiter, from whom I had taken the apple, and I slapped him warmly on the back in a spirit of bonhomie and entente cordiale. Sorry, old friend, won't happen again. Salut, bonne chance. He shrugged. Of course he did.
Yeah.
And scurried off.
Yeah. Because he's a stereotype. Yes, of course he's right.
With his newly attached pint of elephant snot attached to his coat. So Father Simon obviously seek forgiveness, not from the French waiter. He was, after all, spectacularly French and grumpy. I also don't seek forgiveness from the Maho or from Daisy's dad, both of whom had nearly lost control, trying not to stifle a laugh because they saw everything that was going on. I do seek forgiveness from the hard-working souls in the theme park's costuming department, who, despite wearing gloves, probably handled the coat at arm's length when it was sent back for a jolly good clean, as we say in the UK. Anyway, Tim with a splendid story of revenge, I think. Anyway, you can see what happened. You can understand what happened. He was trying to do the right thing, and then he was presented with a problem. There goes a passing waiter. What do you think, Bobby Pryor?
Oh, it's tricky, isn't it? Because that passing waiter might have had a kind of, an order of, I have to take 12 apples to another privileged guests, and they're only going to get 11 apples now. So it depends on how far
What
the
will
line
the
they go.
privileged guest do with only 11
I
apples?
don't know, but they won't be able to juggle 12, will they? It's difficult, this one, because even when you're treated by somebody else that's grumpy, your best defence is to be really, really nice and kind, because otherwise they're only going to end up being more grumpy.
But
And
to be
maybe
very, very nice and kind, and then white elephants.
well, the
not
thing
on
is,
their
but
back.
I just think you did such a great thing for this little girl. I really do. So in this case, I'm going to actually forgive you, Tim.
Very nicely done, Brother Matthew.
Yes, I mean, it's all best of intentions, this clearly, isn't it? And if our Gallic cousin had been a little bit less, shrugging of the shoulders and a little bit more giving with his fruit,
Quelquefois.
then maybe quelquefois, then maybe he wouldn't have got all that elephant stuff down his back.
Malchance, monsieur,
maybe,
malchance.
yes, maybe a little lesson for us all there. So I'm going to say, I mean, and also if you're surrounded by elephants and other animals, then you're going to get covered in stuff, aren't you? It just happens. Perks of the job, I'd say. So for that reason, I am going to forgive.
Dear Father Mayo and the Confessional Collective, says Elaine, This tale happened many years ago, but I am now doubly ashamed, not just about the event, but also how long it's taken me to unburden myself to you and the team, and indeed, the listening millions. About 20 years ago, my then boyfriend, who's now my husband, and I had a weekend away in beautiful Hay-on-Wye. We decided to camp, and having located what seemed to be the only campsite close to the town, we duly made our way there and set up our trusty, old-fashioned even then, canvas tent. The campsite was quite full, and later we returned from the pub, and I noticed that a tiny two-man tent had been pitched very close to us. That's a very annoying thing. It was late, well gone pub closing time, so my boyfriend and I completed our ablutions in the nearby breeze block shower and loo facilities, settled down on the airbed, and prepared for a blissful night's sleep in the fresh border country air. However, the occupants of the pitch next to us had also fairly recently returned to their two-man tent and were obviously not in the mood for sleep. They were intent instead on keeping the party going, and the noise of giggling, laughing, loud conversation, tinny transistor radio music, remember that? Very annoying. Breaking glass, slurping, burping, drunken hysteria, it went on and on and on. Would you stand for that? Would you stay quiet? Would you be embarrassed in English about it? What would you do? I'm just going to ask you now, Bobby, what would you do? You've got a two-man tent right next door to you. All that kerfuffle is going on. What are you going to do?
You let the tent down.
Okay, Matt, what would you do?
Let the tent down. I would politely but firmly tell them to, put a
Jog on.
Jog on.
Meanwhile, in my tent, I was, of course, wide awake and mad as hell at this utterly inconsiderate rudeness and flagrant flaunting of all written and unwritten standard campsite rules about piping the hell down after midnight. It's very straightforward, it's in the rules, and it's in capital letters. I'm normally a fairly mild-mannered person, slow to anger, and with the usual British horror of making a scene or drawing attention to myself. However, after more than an hour with no let-up of loud conversation, laughing, tinny transistor music, loud conversation, etc., it was too much to bear. It was, in capital letters, too much to bear. Almost before I realised what I was doing, I was up, out of my sleeping bag, through our tent door and outdoors into the open air, a righteously indignant bat out of hell in a flapping winceyette nightdress. I stormed straight to the two-man tent, lit up like a Christmas tree, let me tell you, and still emitting hideous, drunken sounds from the oblivious couple within. What did I do? Did I have a stern word like Matt, or did I let the tent down by Bobby, who's turns out to be rather wicked? Answer, I kicked the tent as hard as I could, simultaneously shouting, just make this...
Okay, go on.
You blithering idiots! Why don't you shut the heck up? As the tent collapsed. Immediately there was silence. Fury spent and suddenly painfully aware of what I had just done, I scarpered back to my tent and into my sleeping bag in a nanosecond. Boyfriend completely unaware of everything that was going on. Classic boyfriend. But, Father Mayo, it gets worse because I'm not asking forgiveness for disturbing the revolting couple in the party tent, but alas for the poor innocent young couple who were on their way back from the shower block, who were accosted as they passed by the rampant man next door who had rushed out to confront whoever had inflicted violence on his tent. He lambasted them loudly and aggressively, and of course entirely wrongly, and told them that if they didn't like the lively atmosphere of a British campsite, they could go to one in Marbella instead, where they appreciated that kind of behaviour. What? Naturally, I was horrified by this turn of events, but shamefully I just cowered lower into my sleeping bag and waited for it all to be over as this poor couple took the anger that should have been coming in my direction. Eventually, they got away to their tent and the drunken man returned to his, and silence finally descended. The next morning, we had to leave early, so we made sure to pack up our tent very noisily. Suddenly all brave. We clanked our metal poles in indignation. We slammed our car doors in righteous anger. We wheel-span our Nissan Sunny, spraying mud and grass over their tent as we left. Childish, I know, but hey. I sometimes wonder if that young couple still talk about the bizarre time that they were confronted by a crazed angry man at a campsite who, for absolutely no reason, demanded they take their holidays in Spain next year, for absolutely no apparent reason. I fall at your feet and desperate for forgiveness and apologise. It's taken me so long to unburden myself. Because, well, you know, brave after the event, Elaine, I think, doing your wheel spins and your clanking metal poles. But how about standing up for the poor couple on their way back to the shower? No. What'd you say, Sister Bobby?
Oh, I'm just confused. So the person that she shouted with, just to make the sense, the tent that she shouted with was the wrong tent.
No, it was the right tent, but she shouted, then disappeared back to her tent before the guy inside the tent that she'd been shouting at could come out, and he confronted the wrong people.
You see, the thing is...
It's very straightforward.
Yes, I know, I was just making sure I got that right, because I thought I was... OK, so, Elaine, what do I think? The problem is, when you take people on, of course, you expect people to have the same values as you. The thing is, people are not all the same. That's the problem.
There should be a campsite for people with the same values as you, shouldn't there? Only people are allowed to come in if they have proper values.
Well, or expectations of what is expected. That's it. Those should be campsite rules. You know, no noise after midnight.
Yes.
That's generally accepted. But you always find people who want to break the rules. So I think you're, well, Elaine, you are forgiven. It was a genuine mistake, and I'm just surprised you didn't let the tent down. To be honest.
At this campsite, we have certain expectations. If you don't meet those expectations, you can jog on.
Jog on.
They're the rules in Matt's campsite.
I've decided as well that I'm now in the Bobby camp of letting the tent down. I'm very much anyone who keeps me awake. Oh my goodness! If you keep me awake at night, I'm not a pleasant person. I am wishing all kinds of dark things on you if you're keeping me awake at night. And also, I don't understand this guy's logic where he says if you want to be in a campsite where they don't keep you up, then go to Marbella. Is there something in Marbella where everyone's really quiet? That doesn't make any sense at all. So not only does this guy not understand camping rules, he doesn't understand logic either. So
he's an idiot.
He's an idiot, and therefore, for that reason, you're definitely forgiven.
Father Simon, here we go. This is from Chris. Thank you, Chris. My confession takes us back to a lovely summer's day in Sheffield in 1998 and to our house at the time, which was built on one of Sheffield's 7 hills. To the front we had views over Sheffield, and to the rear, looking out of our kitchen window, our raised garden was at eye level, which was perfect for watching the garden birds pottering around in the garden. At around breakfast time on this particular day, I spotted a racing pigeon on our lawn. I could tell it was a racing pigeon because of the metal ring on its foot. But as this sight wasn't particularly unusual, I continued to prepare breakfast. However, the pigeon was still there an hour later, and then an hour after that, and that was unusual. Concerned for the pigeon's health, I approached the bird to see if I could spot any injuries, and also to get a note of the ring number in case I needed to alert its owner. As I got nearer, the pigeon didn't fly off, but just skipped around the garden, each time keeping just out of arm's reach. Eventually, using some bird seed, a stick, an upturned wash basket and a piece of string, I managed to catch the pigeon, and pen and paper in hand, I made a note of the number and placed the bird safely back in the trap. It was all going to plan, and my mind wandered, and I thought about what I might say to the local radio when they called to interview me about my heroics. Really, Chris? Ideas above your station already? You just caught a bird, mate. That's great. I mean, the local news desk might have a quiet day.
Yeah.
It might have been the winner. It might have been the winner of the Waterloo Cup, which I think.
What are the chances of that? Would you say?
Well, yeah. Actually,
none at all.
Actually, Waterloo could have been hare coursing, but I think it's pigeons.
Anyway, says Chris, I was soon on the phone to the Royal Racing Pigeon Association to let them know what a good citizen I'd been, but to be honest, they weren't quite as excited by my actions as I thought they'd be. They referred me to their website, which is always the worst thing ever, which asked people not to do exactly what I had just done. So I'd obviously done the wrong thing. Anyway, nevertheless, they gave me the details of the owner, who I might add was equally unimpressed by what I'd done when I'd passed on his good news. However, he did tell me that he'd be sending a courier to collect his bird, whilst also telling me quite how much this courier was going to cost him. Why are you looking so puzzled, Matthew?
Well, what was he supposed to have done? I mean,
well,
come on.
not that. He should have looked at the website first. Anyway, the courier's on his way. In preparation for their arrival, I transferred the pigeon from the upturned washing basket to a small box, or at least I tried to. The pigeon that had stood still on my garden for the last 3 hours suddenly now remembered how to fly, and off it went. I stood in the garden and gazed towards the sky at the disappearing pigeon. Then at the garden where the wash basket and the cardboard box lay empty, a number of questions flashed through my mind. What would I say when the courier arrived? What would the pigeon's owner say? Who would pay for the courier? Would I make it onto local radio? No, Chris, no. Imagine my elation when just over an hour later, the pigeon made a return visit and landed just where it had stood previously, a creature of habit. I reset the trap, caught the pigeon and continued to wait for the courier. He duly arrived and a successful handover took place, and that night I slept well in the knowledge that I had been a good citizen and all had ended well. I was up at the crack of dawn, Father Simon, the next morning because the phone was ringing. Now, this is very, very unusual for the phone to ring at such an ungodly hour, and I recognised the voice straight away as the pigeon's owner. It did not sound as though he was calling to thank me for the safe return of his prize-winning pigeon. Now, I didn't catch everything he said, and I couldn't possibly repeat all of the words he used, but in summary, he told me that the pigeon I'd sent him, and the one he'd paid the courier for, was not his. It was obviously not his. It was a feral pigeon. Was I an idiot? Or what? Conversation was loud but short, and I felt in need of a strong coffee afterwards. As the kettle boiled, I looked out at the garden, only to see a pigeon once again standing there with its label showing, looking at me. You're looking at me. Out came the trap, and I was soon reading the number on the ring on its leg. It was. The number matched. It wasn't feral. It was indeed the original pigeon, the one I should have sent instead of this Johnny-come-lately imposter. I now had the unenviable task of phoning the owner to tell him that I had recaught his pigeon. He did think I was a complete idiot. I don't remember too much about the details of the conversation, more choice language, but I did get the gist that a second courier was on its way. At vast expense. Thankfully, this time the pigeon went in the courier's box without incident, headed off on its merry way. I didn't hear back from the owner. I can only assume this little avian mishap all ended happily. Well, I say happily, that's only if you overlook the fact that I'd cost the owner a small fortune in couriers, and also that he may well have lost out on prize money due to the fact his bird arrived home from the race in a cardboard box in the back of a transit van. I therefore seek forgiveness from the owners of both pigeons and from the Royal Pigeon Association. Promise not to get involved with pigeons ever, ever, ever again. Well, he was trying to do the best thing and very public-spirited, I think, but obviously he was doing precisely what he shouldn't do. Anyway, Sister Bobby, what do you think there?
I don't think really Chris did anything wrong. I know he made a mistake, but let's face it, he was looking after the welfare of the bird. What he could have done is absolutely nothing, which is what some people do. The fact that he cared enough, to set up the trap that we learn when we're in the brownies with a washing basket, it was, I think, was well done,
He
Chris.
could have had it for lunch.
And the other thing is, he could have done. As for the pigeon department, head of pigeons,
Yes.
lost pigeons. It's fine saying refer to the website, but when you've got a pigeon under your arm, your first thing to do is to give them a call. So stop being so grumpy and just be grateful that people care
Yeah.
enough. So that's the first thing. You don't need forgiveness for them.
It's a two-part answer.
Yeah, and secondly, for the man, I don't know, actually, after the second time of him being grumpy, I'd have said to that pigeon, you know what, you stop with me. You stop with me. Don't
Or
fly.
I'd have said, fly, pigeon, fly.
Well, yes.
The world is yours.
But I wouldn't have sent him home. I think there's problems at home there we've not discovered. So I'd have...
Arguments, tension, not coming back at the right time,
You do not need to be
Time you
forgiven.
call this?
Yeah.
being grumpy,
Yeah.
using rude words. Novice Nigel, what do you think there?
Like a scene from On the Waterfront in the pigeon coop. I thought, what a miserable pigeon owner. I actually thought it was going to go bad, but Chris inadvertently did kill it because his
No.
trap fell on its head and then he was going to eat it. 'Cause
Nigel,
when
that wouldn't have. I don't think that would have got past the harsh process, the selection process.
No, quite well. Inadvertently. But the fact that he did it twice, I thought, well done to you. And the other guy, he really has got a sense of humour failure, hasn't he? And if that's what... he's doing a disservice for pigeon fanciers. So Chris, absolutely forgiven, and obviously never came back. So you went on.
Young Matthew.
Yes, this is the best one we've done this week. That was hilarious. The genius of this story is that having been told don't catch or trap the pigeon, he does it again and again. I'm going to try. Don't worry, I'm going out with my box and my stick and my bits of seed, and I'm catching more pigeons, even though I've expressly been told do not catch the pigeons. So I love this story. Definitely going to forgive.
Well, they were this week's 3 confessions. Yes, just the 3, as I mentioned, because of the all request 80s. If you've got one, and let's face it, you've got loads, confessions@bbc.co.uk. And if you missed any of the shows from last week, you can listen back online. You can download to your smartphone or tablet from the BBC iPlayer radio app all the joys and delights of drive time across the week. Monday, it was the Your Request 80s. Part of Sarah's 80s dance-a-thon for Comic Relief, and we featured our special guest.
Gary Davis.
A bit Gary Davis then. Very good to see him, because he looks amazing. In fact, he looks exactly the same. And I tweeted a picture of him, and there's some photos, of course, on the Radio 2 website. So because of that, the book club was beautifully bumped to Tuesday, when debut author Vic James told us about her debut, Gilded Cage. There's a chapter online if you want to have a look at that. Wednesday, we found out the winner of the European Tree of the Year. Who knew? And talked to Neil Pearson about the third series of Radio 4's The Missing Hancocks, in which long-lost classic Tony Hancock dramas have been newly recorded with special new stars. And on Foodie Thursday, Nigel made us a simple cod gratin with béarnaise sauce. Mind you, what he thinks is simple, not what anyone else thinks is simple. And if you made it to the end of last week's podcast, I asked you to tweet and get in touch with either I've Got Nits or Jellyfish McSavaloy. So Ed and Neris and Sol and Julia, loads of people did just that. Special mention to Mark, who clearly has been binging on the podcast, because he tweeted me, "Check out my crooked scar, petulant prancing peacocks. Do you fancy an impromptu student fitness session? And I've got nits," which are all the code phrases from the last few weeks. Going back months, in fact. Anyway, this week's code phrase is, of course, "Ooh, Gary Davis."
Ooh, Gary Davis.
Ooh, Gary Davis.
Yeah, like I said.